Good evening, fellow wanderers. This is Scott over at Wandering Wolf Adventures. I am coming to you tonight to introduce myself. I've been pretty big in the LARP scene since about 2009. I've been doing a few games here and there, mostly boffer LARPs, but I have made my New Year's resolution to start working more on the blockbuster and Nordic style LARPs, and that's going to be my next big venture. I am working with a lot of really cool people in the gaming community now. Uh, my very good friend Raquel Skellington, LARP girl Kaza, and Momo. So we're going to get up to some pretty cool adventures over the next year. But mainly what my focus is going to be on this channel is I'm going to try and interview a lot of different people in the community, in the LARPing community and gaming community at large, just so you can get a better sense of like a cross-section of the different kind of people that LARP. It's not, one specific type of people that everybody seems to think. There's this stigma surrounding gaming and LARPing that it's just for one type of people, but it's not. It's for everybody. It was designed so that anybody could join a game and have fun and be a part of this universe that has been created, and just let loose and not have to think about reality for a weekend or for however long the game is. But that's going to be my focus. My first interview is with my good friend Angel over at GDArt, and we discussed our upcoming event this coming weekend, January 5th to 7th, Armistice Arcane, taking place in New Orleans. To give you a little backstory here, the game takes place in Victorian-era New Orleans, right around, very close to the turn of the century, about 1890 or so. And there are numerous factions across the country that are meeting to discuss the possibility of signing a peace accord and creating this arcanum, this collection of all of these factions, so that they are essentially, no longer fighting amongst each other. They've come to an accord, and they can actually work together to get a lot of good things done for the supernatural and mundane community together. And there's also the possibility that things could go a little haywire, and that's where I come in. I am the second in command, and hello, that is my cat Tango. She's introducing herself apparently. I am second in command of a group known as the Sentinels, and it is our job to find sorcerers, mages, anybody that's using magic for dark or selfish purposes, anything that alters the course of the natural world, whether it be necromancy, chronomancy, blood magic, any of the really dark black stuff. It's not okay. And she's going to sniff the lantern. Tango, sweetie, you're going to get yourself hurt. Come on. But yes, that is my role. I am the co-leader, and it's going to be very interesting because there are only a certain number of us, and we are definitely going to be outnumbered. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, I just wanted to introduce myself, give you a little background on who I am and what I do and what I plan on doing. So without further ado, here is the interview with Angel at GDArt. Interviewing Angel from GDArt, who is a newcomer to the whole LARP community, and I think she's going to be a good addition. So here we are, 3 weeks out from your first big game, Armistice Arcane, in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited. Pretty sure you are too.
I'm ecstatic. Trying very hard to sleep and eat and function, and not only focus on all things New Orleans, but I'm dreaming about it. The music I'm listening to is all about the circus, and I'm kind of, yeah, it's kind of become all consuming in my life at the moment.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've never been to New Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans myself, so this is going to be a treat. I've kind of wanted to go for a long time, but I've just never been able to. So this is going to be an experience.
Yes.
And for those of you who do not know, this is my Myers parrot Skittles. He is going to be joining us, and he's probably going to have a few things to say of his own. But I'll try and make sure that he behaves. All right, Angel. Well, I know you're kind of a newcomer to the LARP scene, but I just want to know, how long have you been LARPing for at all? Have you done anything before this? Is this your first game? What is your experience?
Well, I kind of fell into LARP accidentally. I love, my family's sort of a big deal on Halloween, and so I was trying to get some information on costuming, and I started looking stuff up on YouTube, and I found LARP House and started watching her videos and went, wait, hold on. So I can dress up and interact with other humans in costume? That sounds amazing. And so I contacted her on Facebook and went, how do I do this? And she's actually from California, or was in California at the time, and said she had a game here in the Bay Area that her LARP had branched into San Francisco, and that there was a game going on like in 2 weeks. And so I went, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really know what to do, and it just sort of happened really quick where I was like, okay, this sounds like fun. This looks like a thing I'm going to do. And I found Momo O'Brien and LARP Girl and was like binge watching those videos just to sort of say, I have no idea what I've just gotten myself into, but I've said I will be there. What do I need to do? And I saw the video, Momo O'Brien's video on LARP 101, where it's sort of her getting into LARP. And I was like, you know what? I had a YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, GDArt, and it was mostly on tabletop gaming and Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinders and things like that. And I was like, okay, as a gamer, I don't remember what it was like to start in Dungeons and Dragons. I don't remember what it was like to be new to video games. I don't remember what that experience was like. And I'm never going to be my first time LARPing ever again. And so I turned on my camera and went, okay, guys, I'm going to do a thing. And then I went and did a thing. So yeah, that's pretty much been my experience. I went to the one-day LARP with Dying Kingdoms, and I played an NPC for the day. It was an absolutely surreal and amazing experience. And to sort of prepare for that, there is a Amped Guard is sort of a buffer combat LARP. And so I went to that just to sort of go, okay, what's it like to hit people? And that was amazing. Very, very cathartic.
Oh,
very,
yeah.
Yeah. And, we had these like foam buffer weapons to hit each other with. And there was this one guy in a suit of armor there who handed me a stick, like a wooden stick. And it was like, okay, buffer fighting is fun, but this is even better. Hit me with this stick. And I was like, what? Poke. Yeah, he was in this full plate armor, and he hands me this stick. He apparently does, it's not quite LARP, it's like actual reenactment, but with wooden swords. Okay. And so they wear full plate armor, and they wail on each other with these big sticks. And so that was part of my first experience was, foam boffer swords. And then being able to whack on this guy who's in a tin can with a sword, which was pretty cool. But yeah, those have been my two experiences this summer. And I am looking to do more of the weekend LARPs, but haven't had a lot of experience with that yet because I found this place and was like, okay, I'm going to go to Armistice Arcane. And the last 2 weekends with the other one have been while I've been preparing for this, and I haven't gone back yet. But I'm really excited. But that's been my experience so far, is my all of 2 LARPs that were a couple of hours, one hitting each other with foam swords and wooden sticks, and the other one was getting to dress up as different characters. And I didn't do a lot of combat that day. I did sort of like characters, give everybody information that something's happening over here, or get everyone to go over there. We need to give them money, go buy stuff. So
that in-game
was
currency.
Yeah.
Oh, it kills me every time. I'm not good at making money. I just want to help people and shoot the bad things. Well, you actually answered my second question, which was going to be what motivated you to try it out. And you gave a nod to LARP House and Momo and all the ladies out there. Thumbs up to all of you. My next question after that is, what, if any, favorite genres do you have? And you can stop trying to eat my ear. Thank you.
So far, I've only done Guard, which was a sort of in the afternoon, which didn't have any role play at all, so it didn't really have a genre per se. There wasn't really role play. It was just sort of combat with tabards, which that was that genre. And then the one day thing was a fantasy style with like elves and demons and humans. So those have sort of been the only 2 I've experienced so far. And then I'm going into Armistice Arcane, which is a Nordic LARP. And I'm learning all about that.
Well, I'm thinking more of, do you want to try something that's more high fantasy again? Would you want to try something that's steampunk, something that's post-apocalyptic? Armistice is very, it's Victorian era. Would you want to try something that's maybe set in World War II? All the different styles of settings that there are out there. Is there anyone in particular that you kind of hold close to your heart that you would actually find really enjoyable to be a part of?
I think the one I am most excited to try is I want to do College of Wizardry with over in Poland. I've seen some videos of it. I love the Harry Potter series. I love the idea of magic in the modern world. So this sort of meeting of history and present and magic and reality. So I love that idea, and I so hope that I can experience that at some point. Of Thorns also sounds really amazing and very much a getting out of my comfort zone. I always go for the good characters in D&D. I always sort of pull towards the good guy, the hero, perhaps the reluctant hero, but always the hero. And so the idea of going to Convention of Thorns and a group of, we're kind of, depending on your perspective, from someone's perspective, we're kind of the villain because, the vampires, kind of eat the people. So I love that idea just for a therapeutic thing of playing someone so opposite of me, playing someone who is not my moral compass, my go-to response, to play someone who would have like the opposite response. That is delightful.
Okay. Now, I know you'd mentioned before that you were doing the amp guard, and you were having a lot of fun, kind of just wailing on people. It's very therapeutic for you. If given a choice, would you say that you would prefer something that was more combat based, or something that was more role playing, story based?
Definitely the story based. It was a lot of fun to do the combat, and they actually run every Sunday. But I've only really stopped by twice, and I think that having experienced, even though I haven't been to Armistice Arcane, we haven't gone to the event yet, just the community that's built up in preparation for this event has been so much more engaging, and even some of the conversations have already been so much more immersive. I love the role playing, and I love the storytelling, and that's something I've really enjoyed, Liam. That's something I've really enjoyed in D&D, is the storytelling and the sort of character evolution. So the fighty stuff is great when it is pushing a plot forward, or it's pushing a character development forward. I enjoy the combat for its purpose. But I think in the weekend LARPs, part of my fear is the character dying. So I'm not great at combat. I'm really new, and the idea that I'm going to have this character that I've poured my heart and soul into get, stabbed in the back on her way to the pub, it seems so tragic and kind of terrifying. So I like the idea of there being combat for the adventure and the catharsis and the drama of it. But I think the thing that's pulling me to LARP is more the story. Like, I love having this detailed character sheet that I have a history, I have relationships. This is a living, breathing person in this world, and I'm so excited to do that. And I definitely want to do more of the role playing, more of the taking on a new personality, taking on a new character, and seeing where it goes, seeing who that person becomes, and seeing who I become in that role. That seems a lot more exciting than who's going to win in sword play.
In the stick poking. I can agree with that. I am a big fan of character development, but not knowing where the character development's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of being surprised. Having a starting point written for me is great, but leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be who that person is now and just see what happens in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I would agree with you there. I'm a very story-orientated person. I do enjoy a fair share of combat, though. But yeah, if it advances the plot, great. If all you're doing is combat, it's going to get tiring.
Yeah. And the Amp Guard, I mean, a lot of people go to that and they enjoy doing the sword fighting, and they enjoy doing the different combat scenarios and the different combat games.
Oh, yeah.
And for an afternoon of playing games where you get to hit each other with swords, that was great. But it was not the experience I was hoping for from LARP. I don't really have them kind of in the same. They're different. Like, for me, it's like the difference between saying, "Hey, let's go play Monopoly" versus "Let's go play D&D." There's, yes, you're sitting down at a table playing a tabletop game, but one is very immersive and one is moving pegs around a board. Each has their place, each has their point, each has their time where it's fun to reach for that. But when I'm going into LARP, I'm very much looking at the let's tell a story. Let's, you embody your character, I'll embody my character. And let's see what happens when you put them in a room together. Like, let's just see what happens. That's exciting.
Now, I know before we had discussed things that I do to get into my character's headspace. What do you do?
For this character, because previously I've only played NPCs, I don't really have in my long period of experience, this is what I do. It's more what I'm doing this time, and how I'm getting Victoria ready for Armistice Arcane is I did this sort of storyboarding for what does she wear, what would she look like, how would she feel, what fabrics would she wear, how would she talk, and so playing with accents and trying to look at, okay, here's who she is and here's who I am coming into this character. How can I bring these two together, like marry these two together so that Victoria has a soul, this character has a reason for being who she is. And yeah, and a lot, I've binged on Penny Dreadful. I've been trying to find movies and books that are sort of from that genre, and I'm such a geek. I really, really am. I've gone and done so much research of New Orleans and the history of New Orleans in the 1800s, and like read newspaper articles of what was going on around this time that my character might know, what sort of things were going on in the States, what was the state of just the world, and trying to figure out what my character would be doing, what would her political views be, what would her temperament be, and then trying to find mannerisms that help get me into character. I'd sort of said before, there's sort of this, when I'm trying to get into the mindset, I sort of cock the shoulder to the side, and just automatically do parlez-vous français, and just try and be very French and spend a day talking in that accent and trying to bring back, I'm from Canada, so trying to recall grade 7 French and trying to do that. I've also spent a lot of time on the Facebook group in my faction, just sort of saying, hey, what are you listening to? What pieces are you doing? What interactions would we have had with Victoria? And what things would we know about each other, just to the group in general? Okay, you need to go to your room and close the door now, hon, because I'm talking. Off you go. Thank you. Sorry.
It's okay.
The Cirque, the Facebook group of the Cirque, we're sort of a tight-knit family, and so trying to get people to talk about their characters and what would I know and what would our interactions be, because we're in close quarters and we travel together, and you know, when we see each other, do we sort of bump into each other, do we avoid each other, just trying to get all of that history. And I don't know if all of that's necessary, but for me, I'm so excited about this event that I'm kind of wanting to live in this world as much as possible, not just for 3 days in New Orleans, but not just for 3 days in New Orleans, but in the weeks leading up to it, to just sort of have this character for as long as possible, because I absolutely adore her.
That'll happen if you get really into one of these games. You're going to start to notice that, hey, you know what? I really wish this was happening right now.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. That's an aspect of what I like, or what people refer to as bleed. Bleeding can be good or it can be bad. You have to watch out. It's a good kind of bleed when you're really into this and you want to create and you want to talk to people and you want to build this universe as much as you possibly can, so that when you get there, everybody's got all of this information to pull from and just really dig deep into their character and flesh them out as much as they possibly can. But the bad aspect of bleed is, it's kind of like when you go to a convention and you're having a great time and your friends are there and you're hanging out and you're doing all these cool things, and then Sunday afternoon comes, it's like, and everybody's got to go home. It's over so fast. It's an immediate drop back to the real world, and it's like you can't help but think about all the cool stuff you did in game.
Yeah.
And it's kind of depressing because you want to go back to that. You were having such a good time. You didn't want it to end. Now that's one aspect of bad bleed. Another aspect of bad bleed is, and it's happened to me, and it happened a little bit with me and Raquel. There's such an intense moment of emotions and actions and pretty much every aspect of what's happening at that moment. It's so intense that it kind of just ingrains itself into your psyche.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't help but constantly think about it. And your brain starts to tell you that what just went down might have some truth to it. And then you have to remind yourself, no, everything that happened was in-game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. It's okay for something like that to happen. Not everybody is this big, strong, oh, I'm mentally impervious. I'm totally fine. It's okay. If you need to reach out to that person to say, hey, can we talk about what just happened? Or can we talk about what happened last month? Because I'm not feeling too sure that you and I are okay. Nobody says that you can't do that. In fact, it's encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
It is encouraged to reach out to people and make sure that there are no hard feelings, that nobody hates each other, that whatever was said, whatever was done was strictly for in-game purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So bleed is a real thing.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure that everybody's okay. And if you notice somebody starting to act a little weird or just not being themselves, it takes 2 seconds to walk over to them and just say, hey, you all right? And that's really all you need to do. And then if they volunteer that information and they want to talk to you about it, be there for them. If not, you don't want to force it. You don't want to drag it out of them because then it's just going to make them feel more uncomfortable. But, maybe find somebody that's on staff and just say, hey, I noticed so-and-so is not really doing okay. Maybe you want to go check on.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I mean, that's been my experience with bleed, and it's something that everybody needs to be aware of.
I have to say, in my short experience with not just my couple of forays into events, but just talking to people in the community at large, it seems to be a group of people who are very aware of their baggage. Like everyone that I've interacted with so far, I've been very fortunate, seems to have like clearly marked baggage with them when they're doing things like, hey, I have this problem and I want you guys to be aware. Let's go in and do this. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'd like to trade your daddy issues and I'd like to acknowledge my abandonment issues. Okay. And I have social anxiety. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to double up on that. And just being aware of it and being respectful of it. Like not just, hey, okay, I see that you've got your clearly labeled baggage here, but being really supportive in, okay, how can I, in character, how can I support this character to support this player's need for this or this player's fear of that? And like really aware people and really courteous and kind. And like you're saying, taking that 2 seconds to say, hey, right, like, in game of the are you okay? And the out of game of, hey, I know we had this really intense interaction. That was just in character and we're okay, right? And that's been my experience, very limited though it is. And I really hope that as a community, we can encourage more of that. Because for me, I'm coming out of years of depression and social anxiety, and things got really bad for me. And I was just terrified of people. And I have a lot of insecurities. And it's interesting for me showing up to the one event I went to where I pulled up in my car as a 30-year-old overweight mom, stay-at-home mom. And 5 minutes into the game, I'm in a different costume, and everyone is acknowledging you are this beautiful local who everybody is trying to woo, and this is now who your character is. And I'm like, this is awkward. But you get into it and you're like, okay, yes, for the next hour, this is who I am and this is the information I have to give. And everyone is on cue of this is who you are. You have this bit of costuming which tells me you are royalty. You have that bit of costuming that tells me you are a shopkeeper, and now you're wearing glitter and blue, and you're a water nymph or a fae, a fairy of some kind. And it's, for me, I mean, anyone who wants to can go check out my channel. I've got my vlogs of a noob there is like the first day I said, hey, I'm going to do a thing. And right up until, hey, I'm going to Armistice Arcane. And like, there's a lot of insecurities there where I was like, there's no way anyone's going to see past this. And being able to go in and be absolutely anything and everyone just accepts that that's who you are right now is really, it's a wonderful feeling to be able to walk into an environment and be whoever the hell you want for a day, for a weekend, and just forget what life really looks like. You know what? You're having a really crappy day and you hate your job. Let's go be this completely other person who has nothing to do with finance, who has nothing to do with, you know, being a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher. I'm going to go over here and be this completely self-absorbed individual who doesn't give a crap about society or whatever. Like, you can just drop that veil and everyone there accepts this is who you're playing and I'm going to support you in this role in any way I can. It is a fantastic way to just highlight those things you want to be, or try out things you want to be and say, hey, you know what, I wish I was more assertive, and go be more assertive and go, maybe not that assertive. You know, try out those things that you wish you were and try it out, see how it works, see how you like it. And that's kind of what I love about being an NPC. One day I got to be like 4 or 5 different characters, and they were all vastly different from each other. It was really wonderful.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about NPCing, is that depending on the game, at least the ones that I've done, you show up, you're given a role, you figure out how you're going to play that role, and you go out, you play that role for as long as you need to, and then once that role is done, well, you got to go back to ops, and they're gonna give you another scenario, so you gotta switch gears. But it's also good for your mind, because it trains your mind to be able to understand all of these things going on at once, to be able to, like I just said, switch gears at a moment's notice. You know, you might have been playing somebody who was just like a sanitation worker going around picking up garbage, and then you come back like, oh, well, now you're going to be a level 4 tank. All right, let's do it. So yeah, I think it's definitely an exercise for your mental faculties. In a good way. Yeah. Somebody wants to come say hi, apparently.
Come on over.
Hey, what are you doing? Come on. I'm trying to help you.
You can't order me around. I'll figure it out by myself.
Well, I think that's everything I had. Is there anything you'd like to say to the community at large?
I guess for my channel, I'm mostly talking to new gamers. And so to new gamers who haven't tried it, it is a great way to spend a couple of hours. It's a great way to spend a weekend, and it's definitely something to try out. And to veteran gamers who have been playing for a while, try and remember what it's like to be that person who's never been there before. The scariest thing for me at my first event was everyone knew each other and was comfortable with each other and sort of had this pack mentality. And I was arriving completely by myself. So keep an eye on those people who are walking in solo and just say hi. It will make it so much easier for them to walk in and do things. Just that breaking of the pack to say hi and acknowledging that there is a solo person who might need someone to latch onto. So if you're a new gamer, don't worry about it. Everyone's super friendly and everybody wants you there and everybody is going to be supportive. You just have to say hello. To those who are veteran gamers, say hello.
That's one of the best things, one of the best lessons I ever learned was one of the staff members at the beginning of every event would say, "We're all nerds here.
Yeah.
We're all here for the same reason. Find somebody new and say hello."
Yeah. Yep, definitely great advice.
Well, for myself here at Wandering Wolf and for Angel at GDArt, thank you very much for spending your time with me.
My pleasure.
And I will see you when the next moon is out. Ow! Well, that's it for my first interview with Angel over at GDArt. There will be much, much more content to come. More interviews, more videos on character creation, more videos on games that I will be attending in the future, more reviews, hopefully, on different products that I have, and more feedback from you, the viewers. I am very much open to hearing what you guys have to say. If you want to see a video on anything, if you have questions for me, anything at all you want to ask me, by all means, please let me know. Go ahead and leave a comment, and I will absolutely write it down and give you a video. But from here at Wandering Wolf Adventures, this is Scott, this is Skittles, and Tango is off creating mischief somewhere. But we'll see you next time. And remember, not all those who wander are lost. Good night.